Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided. This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy and other Eagan community television programming is supported by Thomson Reuters, makers of Westlaw Next and based in Eagan. Through Westlaw Next and other innovative online services, Thomson Reuters is the world's leading source of intelligent information for businesses and professionals. Online at thomsonreuters.com. And by U.S. Federal Credit Union, the member-owned financial institution offering service, value, and experience you can trust to the greater Twin Cities community.
Welcome. Access to Democracy returns, and we are with two guests today. Marie Segar from the Eagan Fire Department and Andy Eagan on the floor in front of us, who will not speak much but will be a very important part of our discussion. Marie, welcome. It's the first time you've been on Access to Democracy.
It is. Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on just being promoted to lieutenant in the Eagan Fire Department.
Thank you.
Which is a department of how many people?
We're about 100 firefighters, not quite, but about 100. We have a new recruit class now, so it brings us up to about 100 firefighters.
Which is what you're supposed to be at, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
That's our goal, is to get at least 100.
Now, you've been with the department 5 years.
Correct.
But you've become a specialist in that time. I don't know what the official title is to that. What is it?
Well, so fire prevention specialist, it's basically public education and injury and fire prevention. So.
And I know you're very much a part of this department. You really got into it. And we've met with you over at headquarters, at the new headquarters. And what was the impetus? What started you getting interested in volunteering?
You know, I just loved it. I love Eagan, giving back to our community. Firefighter was something that was just, I guess, something I always had in the back of my hat, so to speak, when I was going through college and everything. And the opportunity came up. My kids got old enough. I knew Eagan needed firefighters, and so I joined the department.
How many women are?
You know, Eagan actually has a high percentage of women. I want to say about 10% of us. So there's probably about 10 of us, if not a little bit more right now, females in the Eagan Fire Department. And we actually had one of the first female firefighters nationally in 1976 was our first female firefighter. So.
Now the department started, you advised us, in 1963.
Correct.
And there was a reason for that.
Well, yeah, there was. We used to be covered by Rosemont and/or Mendota Heights, depending on the area of Eagan, and we had a couple, big fires in the Grove, which was really the only neighborhood in Eagan was that Cedar Grove neighborhood, and there was a large fire, and we had to wait quite a while for anyone to come and help put it out. And so after that, it was the citizens that got together and formed a fire department.
And it's only recently that we have a chief who's full-time and paid.
Correct.
And there are also some paid firemen as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this year actually we received a federal grant, to help hire 5 full-time firefighters, 1 captain and 4 firefighters. And they help us cover our daytime calls because with a volunteer fire department, all of us have regular full-time jobs. And so most of those...
I don't believe that. I always tell everybody to turn off their cell phone. And mine went off. Unbelievable. Little musical addition
interlude.
To the interview.
That was good. So with the volunteers, everyone has regular full-time jobs. So we do have daytime volunteers, but because most of our calls are during the day, a city of this size, our full-time firefighters are able to help with inspections, and then they also respond to calls in a timely manner during the day.
So at night, there's no problem getting enough people out, but during the day,
Yep.
there are shortages.
Yep, exactly.
Now, there was a period of time where some of the volunteers were college students who were living actually in one of the stations. Is that still part of
We
the...
still have dorms in our stations. I think one of our dorm firefighters is a college student. We have another one who's a paramedic. Another one who works for Delta in the baggaging department. So just a real mix. They all have their full-time jobs or vocations, one being a college student, but another one owns his own business. So they live in the dorms, and they actually provide a lot to the city because they do a lot of extra duties, I guess is how I'll put it, around the fire stations and for the department and for the city in their off hours. Plus, they provide a quick response time at night, and even in the days when they're there, they jump on trucks, and because they live there, they can get on the trucks that much faster.
And you are primarily located in the new fire station, which is really a very impressive building.
It is. You know, it looks really impressive. It's a great building because it's used by all the city departments for a lot of different training activities. It also provided for us to do almost all of our training in the city of Eagan. So we used to have to leave and go other areas for search and rescue and other types of trainings. Now we can actually do all of those in-house at this fire station. So the only thing we have to leave for is live burns. They won't let us start a fire in that station. So
I can see that.
so we have to go down to Burnsville for that.
Okay, now you brought Andy with you today,
Yes, I did.
and who's at our feet. Andy is very quiet. And you're going to show us some of the things that everybody should know. As a matter of fact, Sharon and I recently had a training session with you about saving people and compression,
Yeah,
really. So why don't you
sure.
join Andy?
All right. So what we're going to talk about is really hands-only CPR. And the thought process between hands-only is that you don't have to worry about the breaths or giving oxygen. And there's really two reasons for that. One, people kind of panic because they don't remember numbers of compression or numbers of breaths versus compressions. And the other thing is people don't want to get germs if it's someone they don't know. And so really our blood has 6 to 8 minutes of oxygen already in the blood circulating. And so what we're teaching people is just get down and start compressions. So first, of course, you'll call 911 to get us activated and get help coming. But so you get down and you kind of try and see if the person responds. You can kind of feel if you feel any sort of breathing. But then right after that, you're going to call 911 and you're going to start in with compressions.
If there's two people, one get on the phone
Absolutely.
and the other one immediately start the compressions.
Exactly. Yeah, the sooner you can get in with compressions, the better chance of survival and also the higher quality of survival that someone will have. So people can have sudden cardiac arrest and have a quality life after that. There's all sorts of different things that can contribute to that. So one of you can call 911 and then the other one can start in with compressions. When you're doing compressions, you actually want to put kind of the palm of your hand, or not the palm, but the heel of your hand, kind of in the center of the chest, in the sternum area. We actually say kind of on that nipple line is where you would put the heel of your hand. And people, it's kind of your comfort level whether you want to cross hands or interlock them. But then you actually will get yourself just straight vertical. Your arms are going to be nice and stiff with your elbows locked.
So you're actually over the
Yep,
person right
yeah,
there.
so you don't want to have to reach. You want to get your body up and over because then you can use your body to help you. It's a very tiring process giving compressions, and so this will help you do better quality compressions instead of trying to use your biceps, and you can use the weight of your own body. And then you literally just go up and down. You want to make sure you can see that my hands come all the way up before I compress back down again. And the reason for that is you have to think that you're becoming that pump. You're becoming the heart. And so you have to push the blood out so it can circulate, and then you come all the way back up again so that heart can fill with blood before you push it back out again. So you're forcing that blood with that valuable oxygen in it to flow through the organs in the body.
But those are rapid compressions.
They are rapid. You're doing about 100, ideally 100 per minute. So it's not every second, but a little faster than every second because you want to get 100 per minute. Kind of the national thing is you kind of sing the song "Staying Alive" to yourself, and when they do that, staying alive. So that's That's the theme song to this for hands-only CPR. And then you really keep doing that. If you're in a public building or somewhere, most schools, churches, even some of our bigger stores, they have AEDs in them. This is just a trainer AED, but it'll give you an idea of what an AED looks like. Some AEDs you actually have to push an on button.
Rhythm.
I'll turn it off for now. But some of them you actually have to push an on button. Others you just open the lid and it automatically turns it on. And they actually do talk to you. You just heard this one talking to you. And so it'll kind of walk you through the steps.
It gives you the instructions of what you have to do.
Exactly. Yep. It gives you the instructions. So the way they work is it will tell you to pull out open the packages. And so you would pull the pads out. This particular AED, it always shows you a picture. And so you can see that this pad they want to have on the upper right side of the chest. So I would place that pad up there. Ideally, that second person would do it because you don't want to interrupt compressions as little as possible. So if this was real life, I'd probably be moving a little bit faster if I was by myself. And then you take the second pad and follow the picture on it, and you would put that right down low. And the thought behind this is you want that voltage. You want the electricity to go through the heart, which is, in the center of your chest.
So it's upper right near the shoulder.
Yep.
And then sort of lower on the left side.
Yeah, and they'll always have pictures right on there for you, so you just kind of follow the pictures that are already on the pads, and that's really helpful. And so as soon as I got those on, I would jump right back in with compressions. The AED will keep talking to you. Eventually that AED will say, do not touch patient analyzing. And so then I would just step back and not touch them while the AED actually looks for a quality heartbeat. And it's looking for a heart that is kind of in a spasm, I guess is how I would put it. And it's what we call a shockable rhythm. If it finds that shockable rhythm, then it will charge. And then all you have to do is push the button to deliver that charge. If it doesn't find a shockable rhythm, you jump right back in and continue compressions. And you leave the pads on because every 2 minutes or so it'll actually analyze for a shockable rhythm.
Does it tell you when to step back?
Yes, it tells you do not touch patient analyzing rhythm. Some people are worried about AEDs because they're afraid of getting shocked or something along those lines. And if you are touching the person, you'll feel a shock, but it's not going to be something that's going to make you collapse or anything. Really, the disadvantage is that the person that needs the shock isn't getting the amount that they need. So you would absorb, a certain amount of it.
So that's why stand back.
Yeah, for their benefit.
Or move back, right.
So when it's analyzing, you don't want to be touching them because you might mimic a rhythm that they don't have. And so that wouldn't be good. And then also, when it's delivering the shock, you would absorb the shock that they need. So it's a pretty basic process, but it's amazing. It saves lives and it brings quality of life for people. So it's always, the sooner you can do it, it takes for fire to get there, or fire and rescue, 3 to 5 minutes at least. 5 is kind of our typical response time. And so to get those compressions started in under 2 minutes is really important.
Yeah, every minute, every second without oxygen, of course, affects the brain.
So if you get those compressions going, you're delivering that oxygen that's already in there. Usually when an adult goes into cardiac arrest, it is not a respiratory problem that they were having. It's usually, a cardiac problem. And so they were breathing normally before they went into that cardiac arrest. So the oxygen is in the blood. We just need to get it flowing.
The interesting thing is people can be just talking and having a conversation or sitting around, and all of a sudden, boom, somebody collapses. If it's an adult, the first thing you do, I guess, is immediately
Absolutely.
look for cardiac.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll see, they'll kind of know, they'll feel woozy or something along those lines. So there are some signs that might lead up to it, but then typically it's just down they go, they hit the ground, and the best thing to do is to jump in with those compressions. Feel for that breathing. If they're still breathing, their heart's probably pumping. If they're not breathing, either their heart has already stopped, or without breaths, it will stop soon, without that. So
showing us the box, again, there are different types, I know that. But why don't you lift it up?
Yeah.
And let's get a close-up on it.
Yeah,
The pads are generally in the back of the box?
Yep, they're usually kind of tucked in the back or up in the lid if it's the type that the lid opens up. Many of them you have to push an on or a start button, which it kind of has that universal power button. And then others, it's just a lid that opens up. All of them will talk to you. Now, one thing is it's going to tell you, and this is what we're teaching you not to do, it'll tell you to stop and give breaths because all the AEDs were actually set up as if you're still giving breaths to your person that is down. And what we're teaching you is don't bother with the breaths because
Do the compressions?
Do the compressions. That's what's most important. So you want to make sure you activate 911 and you do the compressions. So I can kind of go through what I would do if this was me and somebody went down.
Okay.
If that's helpful, kind of give people a reminder of the process. So yeah, if somebody went down, the first thing I'm going to do is,
Your portable mic just came out of your pocket and back.
oh, there it is.
We've had a few extras here. The mic falls off. My cell
phone.
phone goes on.
So if this was somebody that crashed, I'm first going to go up and, hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm going to give them a tough rub in the chest because that hurts and that might stimulate them. Within 30 seconds, if it's someone who just fainted, they're usually going to come back to consciousness. I'm feeling for breaths. I don't feel anything. I immediately either grab my cell phone or alert somebody. And I'm very specific. I'd be like, hey, Al, call 911. The reason I'm very specific is if you just say someone, then everyone looks at each other. So I'm very specific. Call 911. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to start compressions. And I actually do count. I try to count up to 60 or 100. And the reason I count is I want to keep track of how long I've been doing compressions. So I would actually count in my head to myself. And I don't stop compressions at all. If I ask somebody to grab an AED, or if I was by myself, I might do compressions for a couple of minutes and grab an AED. Or if it was near enough and someone brought it, I would ask them to help. So I would take no more than 10 seconds to do the AED. I would turn it on.
That's very tiring, though.
It is very tiring.
So can somebody else jump in and do it?
Absolutely. If I had somebody else with me, what I would do is I would say, you see me doing these compressions. My arms are nice and stiff. I'm going all the way down and back up. I'd like you to take these over. So come sit across from me, and they would be across from me. All right, ready on 3, you're going to jump in, and you're going to do compressions just like I am. On the mark, get set, go. Boom, and I would stand back. As firefighters, when someone's in cardiac arrest, there'll be 4, 5, 6 firefighters on scene, and we need all of us to give those compressions because it's a tiring process. In order to give quality compressions, you can only last up to 2 minutes, and then you need to change out and have a new person in. Even though you might think you're still giving quality compressions, studies have shown that after 2 minutes, you won't be giving the quality of
It is a
compressions.
very tiring thing. I mean, I know when we had the demonstration at the firehouse, it really was very tiring.
Yes, it is. So if you have extra people, you want to have them jump in and give those compressions and help. And so then if I had somebody else jump in, right around them doing the compressions, I would actually put that AED on, and I just kind of go right around their hands. And then we would keep those compressions going until it told us to stop and that it's analyzing
Have the machine talk to us and see what it says.
All right, let's see what this one.
Analyzing rhythm.
Well, there it is, analyzing
Everyone
rhythm.
stand clear. Shock advised. Charging. Everyone stand clear. Everyone stand clear. Push the shock button.
And so what you would do is you just push
Shock delivered.
whatever flashes
Begin 5 cycles of CPR.
and go right back in. And even actually, when the person's shocked, so you do see a little vibration, not quite like on some of the ER shows where the body just really jumps off the table, but you would see, the vibration when that shock is delivered. And typically, you will always go right back into compressions because even if you got the heart going, it might not be going quite at the blood pressure and the flow that it needs, and so the person would still need that assistance.
1 minute and 30 seconds of CPR remain.
So it kind of gives you that idea of how much longer you have and how many cycles of CPR you've done. So 5 cycles takes about 2 minutes. And so you would know that you've been delivering enough, and then it would
Hopefully
analyze
the
again.
emergency people, the EMTs, are there by then.
Exactly.
And
I'll
now,
turn
if
that
you
off.
don't have a machine in your home, and as I said, there are several kinds. You said they don't all look like that, but they're all
Correct.
basically the same. You've started compressions, you've called 911, you don't have the AED. I
Yep.
don't know what that stands for.
And that's
but-
fine. Automatic External Defibrillator
Okay.
is what an AED, and most of us don't. So AEDs typically are in public buildings and that sort of thing. So it's not something that people typically have at home. It's not necessary. Getting those compressions is the most important thing, and that's what's giving them the best quality of survival, or best chance of
And
survival.
of course, if you're by yourself with the person who collapsed,
Yep,
there's nothing you can do but wait for help.
correct. Call 911 and start compressions, and just do them as long as you can, because something is much better than nothing. So even though you may be doing them for more than 2 minutes, it might be up to 3 minutes, they're still getting some sort of compressions that will help their chance of survival and their quality of survival.
Calling 911, I know it's important to stay as calm as you can be when you're giving instructions to 911. So what would you say? Cardiac arrest and then give the address?
Yep, absolutely. And it's the dispatchers are wonderful because they actually do help you remain calm. A big thing is don't hang up on them after you've called. That dispatcher will give you, while they're dispatching police and fire, so we will already be on our way, but they will continue to talk to you, and they'll walk you through the steps and help you remember what to do. So they're actually a valuable resource to help keep you calm
So that's
and tell you
important.
what to do. Yeah, and so I would just put the phone on speaker and do what they're saying as they tell you, and they'll help keep you calm. And they're constantly giving us updates as well. So while we're on our way, they're telling us what's happening, and they let us know when that CPR was started. So it's really important to know your address, know where you live. And even with your kids, if it's a grandparent and you regularly take care of a grandchild, let that grandchild know your address and teach them your address, because that's important.
Okay. Now, Eagan, as opposed to some other communities, has a box, which is right here,
Yeah.
which we can hold up or focus in on. And tell us about that and tell us what it does.
So what we have these kits, and we have a fair number of them. They're called CPR Anytime kits that were put out through the American Heart Association. And we've received donations from Health East, which is our EMS provider in Eagan. And we've also received donations from Dakota County Heart Start program. And so we have these kits. They have a mannequin, a blow-up mannequin in them. They have a video, and they have materials so that you can actually teach yourself hands-only CPR. You can teach it with your family. Great holiday activity. Have the family gather around and actually practice hands-only CPR.
Well, that is in and of itself is very important. And
So you
how
can,
expensive is a kit like that?
the kits I want to say probably run around $25, but we have a lot of them that you can actually check out from the fire department. So Eagan Fire Station 2, which is up at 1001 Station Trail, you can call us or you can stop in during business hours. So from 8 o'clock to 4:30, Monday through Friday, we actually have people in the office. And we have these available to check out. So people can check them out. And you have them for about a week or so that way you can share. And it's a great resource. You can use them with your family. Church groups can use them. Scout groups can use them. The schools are welcome to check some out. So it's a really good resource to get out there and teach that hands-only CPR. We would like to get it into our entire community. We usually teach it at our open houses. Occasionally we'll go out in the community ourselves and teach hands-only CPR. And we've actually seen people using it, and it's great because we're seeing a better survivor rate because people are actually starting those compressions before we get there.
And if you wanted to buy an AED?
They're pretty expensive. I want to say they probably run around $1,500. And there's a lot of different organization, places that you can buy those through, medical supply companies and that sort of thing. So yeah, they're good for people to know how to use if they run into that situation. It's not something that people would usually have at home unless they had kind of a noted heart issue or heart problem.
Okay. In another area now, let's talk about smoke alarms. I know you sometimes do inspections and things like that. I think that smoke alarms are mandatory in new buildings, a certain degree of them.
Yeah. So smoke alarms, there's a lot of things about smoke alarms. One of the things that most people don't know is that smoke alarms actually only last 10 years. So if you've had a smoke alarm in your home, if you've lived in your home for 10 years and you've never replaced that smoke alarm, the entire unit needs to be replaced every year, 10 years. And a lot of people don't realize that. So one of the things, Eagan grew exponentially in the 80s. We grew quite a bit, and so that was 30 years ago. And so we're kind of having that effort out to really make people understand and know that those smoke alarms need to be replaced.
Yeah, I've got one that's been sitting there for 17 years, but we also have a burglar alarm system that's wired.
Yeah.
So that has a smoke alarm in it. I guess that's a different story.
Yeah. And the reason they need to be replaced is because the sensor themselves actually wear out. So it might still beep when you push it, and it might do some of the things, but the sensor itself might actually not detect smoke anymore. So that's why you want to replace it. And then the batteries, you want to replace the batteries every year. And then ideally you would test it every month, every couple of months you'd push the little button. A secret a lot of people don't know is the little button you push to test it actually will silence it for you also. So if you have a nuisance alarm for some reason, you don't need to disassemble it and take the battery out and do all those things that make it inoperable. But actually just push that button, it'll silence it while you take a chance to clear the burnt toast out of the area or whatever it is that you had. And then for families or people with kids to really teach the kids and teach each other that when you hear that alarm, that means you need to head to the door and get out. Because often what we'll find is because we've burnt our toast so many times, our kids have learned to ignore that sound. And so every time, even if it's just an accident and it's a nuisance, we want to teach people, go to that door, get outside. I'll call you back if it's safe and tell you you can be inside.
Probably one of the most valuable sessions we have ever had, and I really thank you for coming down here and demonstrating and explaining these things to us, because the life you save may be that of somebody who's very near and dear to you. Marie Segar is a lieutenant with the Eagan Fire Department, volunteer lieutenant, as most of the firemen are, and really thank you, Marie, so much for coming down.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks again.
You want to talk?
I thought you were going to have Philip pass out.